Hi guys, so today I just have another of those little portraits that I've been doing lately, but this one I decided that I wanted to clean it up all the way and have a finished illustration in the end. So I just did a lot more of a finished job on this one. At the beginning of this video, I had already had my sketch down, just the idea and the gesture and the emotion all just sketched out really quickly. That way I could get it out of my head. And then I went off and took my photo reference, which is basically where the video starts now, is where I have that to look off of and I'm working off of that now. I've really liked doing this process lately where I start off with just the gesture drawing and the sketch down and I get everything out of my head first, even if it's not anatomically correct. And then I go in and I go take the photo, and it just really helps to get a clear idea of what I want to do, but then to also see what's not working about it when I'm getting my model to pose and I can see, oh, well, the hand doesn't actually work that way, or whatever. I can see what isn't working and I can get it to be more of a natural pose and have them pose the way they would if they were trying to do that, if that makes sense. So that's been really helping me to kind of meet together between having more of an anatomically correct drawing, but also have this emotion and the style that I'm looking for. Right here is actually a pretty good example of that. When I first sketched out the hand, I had it much more flat against his chest. But when I was taking the reference photos, that just was not natural and it didn't really work the way that the hand would be placed there. So while I was taking the reference, we were able to see how the hand would actually be and put a little bit more emotion in it that I didn't even think of while I was sketching, as more of a gripping motion. So being able to kind of have an idea to start out with, but then to be able to see how the body actually works in that kind of environment or that kind of a pose, it really helps a lot to be able to make it better and make it more right, but still have the direction that you want. I ended up deciding that the first set of tattoos that I gave him, I just didn't really like. It didn't really have the same look that I wanted, and in the end, when they were colored in, it just didn't look the way it did from the line art, which happens a lot at the time where I start out with the line art version of a drawing and then I go in and I add the color and it loses some of that charm and the look that I wanted. So for this one, I decided that I need to just start over with that and to look up some more ideas on how to get it the way that I wanted it to. At first, I wanted it to be very graphic and kind of sharp lines, sharp shapes. And I included some of those, but I was able to include more organic looks, actual pictures that people might have as tattoos, and just make it a little bit more lively, I guess. Whereas the first version, I feel it was a little bit sterile. I did really end up loving working on this. Sometimes where I start a picture, I'm excited about where it can go and I'm excited to see the end product, but actually creating it isn't always as enjoyable. But for this one, I just really loved every process of it. There wasn't really anything that caught me up or anything that, I struggled with, luckily. But so yeah, I mean, it was really enjoyable, and it may have been because I was able to have a very simplified color scheme. There wasn't a lot that I had to have different colors, but also it was just really pleasant to be able to draw these different tattoos on his body that also had these different shapes and different looks that I could have within one picture. So it was just a really enjoyable process of just adding to it and changing and seeing how the picture evolved over time as I was working on it. And yeah, it still ended up kind of this look that I had in my head, only even better, which almost never happens. It usually loses something by the end, even from the sketch version. So I was really very happy with this piece. I also ended up trying a very, very slightly different way of doing the shadows on this illustration than what I usually do. And how I usually do it is I do all the shadows on a separate layer and I set that layer mode to multiply and lower the opacity a little bit. That way it kind of reflects the colors beneath it, as well as being able to have its own color and influence those. And what I ended up doing for this one was I set it to darken, I believe. I think I had one set to darken and then I created a second layer as well, and I think that I put that as multiply. I don't quite remember, but I do know that the darken one, it maintained the color integrity of the layer itself. So I made his shadows very, very purple, this really, really saturated dark purple, and setting it to darken kept it much more of a saturated purple instead of dulling it down like Multiply did. And I really enjoyed that. I really love having these really saturated colored shadows on my pieces, and I've been really getting into that more. So I'm excited to know that there's a few different options for the color mode that I can have to get that look. And I mean, I know that there's definitely other ways, and it's easy to do. But while I was messing with this, I realized how much I did love that, and how that is something that I want to be working more towards, is to make sure that I'm bringing that out intentionally. And we are pretty much at the final version of this. I really enjoyed this. I loved working on it, and I love the final product. I feel like it's so much better than what I had in my head at the beginning, and that like almost never happens. I'm grateful when it can get anywhere close to what I think that it'll be, and when it can actually exceed that, it's extremely exciting. So I'm pretty happy with this one. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can see all my future art videos. And until then, I will see you at my next one. Bye.